My dear friends, perhaps you have heard of the name Angulimala. Does it sound familiar? Angulimala, the killer. It's very. This is the story of Angulimala. Is a true story that happened during the time of the Buddha. And that story has been recorded by many texts. He was a terrible killer. He had killed many hundreds of people before he met the Buddha. And he wanted to kill the Buddha also. And this story brings us hope because for such a person, transformation is possible also. Angulimala killed his own mother. And after that, he continued to kill other people. And every time after having killed one person, he cut a portion of the finger of the victim and add into his necklace. There's several fingers in his necklace. And in the kingdom of Kosala, everyone was afraid of him. Even the king of Kosala. One time, the police sent 20 agents into a forest where they believed that Angulimala was hiding. And none of these 20 policemen came home. He killed all of them, and he was all alone. Angulimala, the killer. We need only to hear that name in order to tremble and to lose our control, lose our peace. That day the Buddha went into the city of Sravasti for his alms round. You know, at that time, 2,600 years ago, the Buddha was a monk. He was a teacher and he had many monks as disciples. After his enlightenment, he practiced many years, and at the age of 35 he got enlightenment and was able to transform all his suffering and confusions, and became a teacher of many people. On the second year of his teaching, he already got many monastic as his disciple, 1,250 of them, right on the second year of his ministry. And the lay followers were also many. That year the Buddha was about 40 or 41 years old only, still very young. Much younger than I am now. And the tradition is that in the morning after sitting meditation and walking meditation, the monks would go into the town or the village or the city holding their bowl and to seek for food, aumône in French. And they go by groups of 10 or 15 or so. And they did walking meditation, become aware of every step. And they stop at every house. No matter that house is rich or poor, they have to stop and to stay for 3 minutes. If nobody come out and give anything, and then they go move to the next house. They did not have the right to skip any house because they practice equanimity. It's wrong if you only choose the rich house to come and to get better food. That's not the practice. So the practice is that as a bhikshu. Bhikshu means someone who beg his food in order to nourish himself and to ask for the teaching in order to practice for transformation and healing. Bhikshu is the name, the title of a monk. If you want to translate into English, you have to use the word mendicant. So a bhikshu should be humble as a mendicant. He begs for the teaching from his teacher in order to nourish his mind, his spirit, and he begs for the food to nourish his body. And I am a bhikshu, I am a mendicant in the tradition of the Buddha. We have to practice humility, equanimity, and non-discrimination. That is why the Buddha also practiced going from house to house to beg for food. You can say that this food is not good, I don't want this food. Do you have something else? No. And after we got the food, we go back to our place and we share. Because there were monks who did not get enough, and there were monks who got more than they need, so they share. And if they have a little bit extra, and then they will bring that into the village and offer to the poor people. And this practice is maintained until today in countries like Cambodia, Thailand, Burma, and so on. So that day the Buddha went to the city of Shravasti in order to beg for his food, doing walking meditation. And he noticed that most of the houses were closed. And then there was one lay person opening his door and asked the Buddha to come in. And after the Buddha had come in, he told the Buddha that Angulimala was in town. And it could not be safe for his teacher to walk on the street like that. He told the Buddha, "Dear teacher, please stay with us. We will cook something for you to eat. And when we hear that the situation is safe, well, we let you go home. It's too dangerous to have you walking around in the city." The Buddha said, our practice is to get in touch with the people in the city. And I'm sure that it will be all right. I will know how to protect myself, so allow me to continue my practice of going on the arm ground. So his disciple believed him and allowed him to go out. The Buddha is a title given by him by the children of a village called Uruvela. His name is Siddhartha Gautama. The Buddha means the one who is awake. And you know that the Buddha is not a god. He's a human being like us. He had suffered like us. He had practiced, and he was able to overcome and transform his suffering and confusion and became a teacher. His real name is Siddhartha Gautama. Siddhartha first name, Gautama family name. And his clan is Shakya. Siddhartha Gautama Shakya. And then after having walked for about 10 minutes, Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, hear the sound of running after him. And by hearing that sound, he knew that it was Angulimala. When you are very mindful, when you are concentrated, you can detect the energy that has expressed itself into sight and sound. And the Buddha had the insight that it was Angulimala that was running after him. But the Buddha was not fearful. He was very calm. He was very solid. He was still very young. And Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, before he became a monk, had been one of the best in the field of martial art. He won the contest organized in his city Kapilavastu concerning martial art. So he knew that he was young, he was strong, he was skillful in martial art, he is lucid, he has compassion, he has many means to protect himself. So that is why he continued to do walking meditation step by step, not disturbed at all by the presence of Angulimala. Angulimala was very angry, always a lot of violence and hate in him. He called out to the Buddha, "Hey, monk, stop!" The Buddha heard that, but he continued to do peaceful, mindful walking. He did not stop. And then Angulimala called for a second time, "Monk, stop! I told you to stop." The Buddha continued to walk peacefully, not disturbed by that kind of threat. And then he heard the steps of Angulimala running quickly, and in no time at all, Angulimala was walking on the same line with him. And with an angry tone, Angulimala said, "Monk, I told you to stop. Why do you still continue to walk?" The Buddha continued to walk, and with a very peaceful voice, he said, "Angulimala, I stopped a long time ago. It is you, my friend, who has not stopped." "What do you mean?" And he jumped ahead and stopped the Buddha and forced the Buddha to stop. "What do you mean? You were walking, and you said that you had stopped." The Buddha looked at him with a lot of compassion and addressed Angulimala with a very gentle voice. "Angulimala, on the path of violence and destruction and hate, I have already stopped for a long time. I have taken the path of compassion, understanding, and service. You too, you should stop on your path of violence. You know that every living being wants to be alive. No one wants to die. We have to be compassionate to them. We have to allow them to live, to love them." When Angulimala heard that, he got very angry. He said, all men and women are cruel, dishonest, deceptive, always lying. I hate them. I want to kill them to the last in order to satisfy my anger." The Buddha said, "Angulimala, I know you have been victims. You have been mistreated by many human beings. They have not treated you with understanding, compassion. You have suffered a lot. You have met cruel people, deceptive people, dishonest people. But you should not think that all men are like that, all women are like that. There are people who are capable of understanding and loving and being compassionate. It's pity that you have not met such people. Suppose a bhikshu, a mendicant. Have you met any bhikshu? So that life is devoted to saving the life of people and to practice non-violence in thinking, in speaking, and in acting. And they have their compassion, their peace to protect them. They rather die than to take the life of another human being. Angulimala, I think you have to change the direction, to take direction of compassion, understanding. The ocean of suffering is immense, but if you turn around, you see the shore of well-being. Angulimala has never seen a person like Siddhartha. Everyone he had met, was terrified by his presence and tried to run away from him. But this person, he was not afraid of him at all. And he was able to look at you in a very compassionate way. He has never seen and met such a person like this monk. His gentleness, his compassion can be felt. Angulimala said, "Are you the Buddha? Are you Siddhartha? I have heard of him. Are you him?" The Buddha said, "Yes, I am Siddhartha." Angulimala said, "Gautama, it's too late. It's too late. I have gone too far on this path. Even if I want to stop and turn into another direction, it's already too late. Nobody will allow me to have a chance to begin anew." The Buddha kept silence for a few seconds. And he told Angulimala, if you really want to give up the path of violence and destruction, if you really want to make the commitment to live the life of compassion and of service, and then I will help you. I will offer you my protection as a spiritual teacher, and my community will guarantee for your protection. The Buddha was very brave. He wanted to guarantee that he will be able to keep Angulimala from continuing his course of destruction and killing. He seems to be ready to take the risk. His compassion was immense. And when Angulimala heard that, he took out his knife and threw it into the ground and kneeled down before the Buddha. I really, Siddhartha Gautama, I really want to stop. I really want to make the commitment to live the life of compassion and healing. Please do help me. At that time, the Venerable Shariputra, Ananda, and others disciples of the Buddha, they were looking for the Buddha. They were worried that their teacher would have been killed by Angulimala. Now they arrived and they saw Angulimala kneeling before the Buddha. They were so happy. The Buddha gave the suggestion to Shariputra, his senior disciple, to organize a ceremony of ordination right on the spot, to shave the head of Angulimala and to put a monk robe on him. I take refuge in the Buddha, the person who is enlightened, compassionate. I take refuge in the Dhamma, the path of understanding and love and compassion. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community, the practice according to the path of compassion and understanding. And then Shariputra and other monks were given the order to escort Angulimala, the new monk, back to the monastery and keep him there and gave him instruction as how to practice breathing, sitting, walking. And his fellow monks will bring the food every day home to him and did not have to go out for the arm round like other monks. And after the monks were gone with Angulimala, the Buddha continued his arm round. What happened is that from that day on, Angulimala became the most diligent monk in the community. He really devoted all his time and energy into the practice of transformation and healing. He was ready to receive the teaching and put it into practice with all his might, all his whole person. And he was able to transform his anger and his violence so quickly. It was like a miracle. And his brother monks was very surprised. So they gave him a Dhamma name, a very beautiful Dhamma name, Avihimsaka. You know that Ahimsa is non-violence. And the new monk, the newly ordained monk, obtained that Dhamma name. The bhikshu with the name non-violence. He practiced so well that he became a model for other monks. He turned 180 degrees. And he was committed to the practice with all his life, because he knew that he had caused a lot of suffering, he had caused a lot of damage to society, to family and all. 3 months after that, he was allowed to join Buddha to go to Shravasti for the first arm round. Because the Buddha knew that now he is an authentic monk and he can join other monks safely to practice begging in the city. When the Buddha and about 20 monks who accompanied him for the alms round arrived at the gate of the city, they were surprised to see that the king of Kosala, Prasenajit, was in military uniform and he's conducting many units in the army ready to go somewhere to fight some kind of war. And when the king Prasenajit saw the Buddha, well, he got down from his horse. He bowed to the Buddha because he was a friend of the Buddha and he was a disciple of the Buddha. And the Buddha said, "Great king, what happened? Why do you have to use so many army units? Is there a war in the frontier that you have to fight?" The king said, "No, my teacher, there is no war in the frontier. We have to call this unit on because we have heard that Angulimala is in town. And we are very afraid of him. 50, 100 policemen would not be able to deal with him. That is why I had to use this huge amount of soldiers in order to look for him. Angulimala was just standing behind the Buddha. And the king was just in front of the Buddha. The Buddha practiced breathing in and out. And calmly he told the king, "Great king, what could you do? What would your majesty react? If your majesty heard that Angulimala has renounced the path of violence and killing and embraced the path of practice of compassion, understanding, and repentance, and make a deep commitment to do no more harm to society. What if he become a monk, wholly devoting himself to the practice with the support of other monks? And if there is a guarantee that he will never repeat the mistake, the crime again. King Prasanajit said, "Dear teacher, I don't believe that Angulimala would do that. He's a very, very evil person. A lot of hate, a lot of anger, a lot of violence in him. He could not take the path of practice. I cannot imagine him becoming a bhikshu like you." The Buddha said, "Great king, he has embraced the new path. With our help, he has taken the vow to renounce to the path of violence. He has now become a monk, practicing very well, and his name now is monk non-violence, very much respected by his brothers. If your majesty hear about that, would your majesty continue to think that he should be put in prison or hanged? Or would your majesty give him a chance in order to practice compassion, in order to transform himself, in order to repay the mistakes he have done in the past? Would his majesty give him a chance for transformation and service?" And the king said, "Well, if really Angulimala wants to embrace the path of compassion and make the vow to practice the path of non-violence and renounce the path of killing, and not only I will not kill him, put him into jail, but I will offer him food, shelter, and medicine as I used to offer to all other bhikshus." And then the Buddha tapped to the right and pointed to Angulimala and said, "Majesty, this is Angulimala." All the hair in the head of the king stood up. And he make a step, jumping back. The Buddha smiled. "It's no danger, Majesty. Angulimala now is very, very gentle. He's one of the most gentle, non-violent person in our community. Please don't be afraid of him. He is in very good hands that take care of him." So with that reassurance of the Buddha, the king step up, make one step ahead, and make a bow to Angulimala and ask him about his origin, the name of his father, that is the name of his mother. And with respectful and gentle speech, Angulimala answered every question of the king as a respected humble monk. And the king said, "Venerable Avihimsaka, do you need anything in terms of medicine, food, or shelter?" And the Venerable Angulimala said, "No, Great King, my brothers in the Dharma have provided me with everything. I thank Your Majesty for your concern, but we are okay now." The king turned to the Buddha and looked at Buddha with great admiration. "Dear teacher, what we cannot do, even with a mighty army, you have done. You don't have any weapons, any army, any political powers, and yet you have done what we as a government, as an army, have not been able to. Please stay long in our country as the light, as the spiritual support to the life of our nation. We thank you for having done what you have done in order to make the country a more peaceful place for all of us to live in." The Buddha said, "We just try to do our best." The king said that, "Thank you, my teacher. Now I have to go back to my army unit and give the order for them to go back to their places. I have many things to do, so please allow me to do so." The Buddha said, "Great King, please do what you deem necessary to do now. And thank you for having had this conversation. And now we can continue with our arm round." That story of Angulimala has been recorded in many scriptures. And if you are a poet, please write a poem on that, an epic poem. If you are a composer, please write a piece of epic music on that, celebrating the capacity of transformation and healing. There are many things we cannot solve by our mighty means, like political powers, authority, weapons, army, but can be done with compassion, understanding, gentleness. Dear friends, psychologically speaking, if a person knows that every day she or he can do something to reduce the level of violence in society, that will bring a lot of comfort and healing to that person. But this is something possible. We know that the level of violence in society is very high, overwhelming. If we know that living in our daily life in such a way that you can contribute something to contribute in the work of bringing down the level of violence in society, and that kind of faith, that kind of belief, that kind of understanding will make us feel better. We are no longer stuck in a situation. To be something or to do something every day to reduce the violence in society, that is possible, even today. And you have to sit down and find ways in order to do it right away. And to me, when you make a peaceful step, calming your feelings, your emotions, that is already something you can do in order to bring down a little bit the level of violence. Every time you breathe in and out mindfully and hold your anger peacefully for it not to explode into angry words, angry thinking, and angry action, that is an act of compassion that can help bring the level of violence down. Every time you can say something to calm a person in front of you, to make him smile, to help him to see things more clearly, that is an act that can help bring down the level of violence. And all of us can do this today. And that brings to us a feeling of relief right away that will be very healing and nourishing. Everyone can be a Buddha, can be a Bodhisattva. If you are inspired by the desire to serve, you can do it, and you can begin today. Every breath, every step, making mindfulness, every smile is an act of peace, decreasing the level of suffering and violence that will help transform the situation and bring the transformation and healing into the people who live around us. I'm very optimistic about this because I know that every one of us can begin right away now in order to help bring the level of violence down in society. And everything must begin from within. And it will have an effect right away in our family, in our community, in our society. The first step is for the individual to have a chance to go back to himself or herself, to have a look to see what is going on in our body, in our feelings, in our emotions, what kind of suffering, what kind of pain we do have in us. So I will draw a sign, the person going back to himself or herself. And this can be done. That this can happen just by reading a book. A book that deals with the problem of practice of transformation and healing. And many of us have done so thanks to a book or a tape. After having listened to the tape, after having read the book, we know the need of going home in order to take care of our pain, our sorrow, or our violence. Or if you have a community of practice nearby, that community of practice may be the cause helping you to go home to yourself. And you learn how to handle the fear, the emotion, the anger in yourself. And you get a relief. This is the first step. You see the path. Even if you have not transformed all the suffering, all the fear, all the pain in you, but you already know the path. You have transformed only 1 or 2% of the suffering in you, but you are happy because you have now seen a path. And now you don't wait until you have transformed all suffering in you. You should not wait. You have to help your family to go back to itself. That's the second step. You as an individual, if you are supported by a community of practice, it will be easier for you to go back to yourself and do the work of taking care of the pain, the sorrow within yourself. And now, as you have seen the path, you want to share it with your husband. You want to share it with your wife, your children. You want to use the practice of loving speech and deep listening in order to communicate to them and persuade them to join you in the path of transformation and healing, reducing the violence, the anger within yourself. Because your family should be the ground of support for your practice. Without the support of your family, of your partner, of your husband, of your wife, of your children, it would be more difficult. That is why the next step is to support your family, helping your family to go home to itself and look into the situation of the family, whether there is enough harmony, communication, understanding, and love in the family, whether there is a lot of violence, division in the family, and learning how to handle these blocks of suffering. This is very crucial. Rebuilding the self, rebuilding the family. And you can do that with the help of the Sangha, namely with the community of practice that has helped you to do so with your own person. Your family may follow your path of seeking the support of a community in order to succeed in the work of going home to itself and recognize what is going on in the heart of your family. And there should be a code of behavior, a kind of law, a kind of dharma that everyone accepts in order for all of you to protect yourself as a family. As an individual, you have a code of behavior to protect you. And yesterday we talked about mindful consumption, mindful transformation that have helped you transform, that have brought you relief, transformation and healing. And now you would like your body, your family to join in, and you become the active member of your family, inspiring that kind of practice of going home. Because there are families where nobody feels that is a real family. It is not a base for the individuals. It is only a kind of hotel where people go home, go back to sleep. Everyone has his or her own life. No communication, no mutual support at all. And this practice is to rebuild the family and make the family into an organism. And this can be done with the support of a community of practice also, a Sangha. And when there is enough awareness, transformation, and joy in the family, you and your family will support your community in order to do the same. Your community may be your colleagues at the workplace. If you are teachers, you have to organize yourself as a community of teachers. Every school, every university has an administration. If you want to serve your students, to help them in the path of transformation and healing and learning, and you have to improve the quality of your administration, the faculty, the board of trustees. Because if there is a division, there is a hatred, there is a competition of power, and then you cannot serve yourself, you cannot be happy, you cannot serve your student very well. The same thing is true within a hospital. If doctors, nurses, the administration of the hospital hate each other, do not communicate with each other, that will make the patients suffer. That is why building community is the third step. And then your department will become your community. And as you have succeeded to some extent in your own person, in your own family, and then bring that practice into your community. No matter how high is your rank, you should learn how to behave as a big brother or a big sister to the other agents, to the other personals, and transform your community of service into a real organism, a real community. And this is possible. If there is a division, there is a hatred, there is a fear in our community, you cannot be nourished. You do not have joy and stability enough to go out and serve. And you will bring suffering back to your home, to your wife, to your husband, to your children. This is very clear. Helping your agency, your administration, your community to go back to herself, to recognize the division, the violence, the hatred, the jealousy, the lack of communication in it. You have to acknowledge that these things exist. You have to sit together and speak to each other as how to reduce that violence, that hatred, that division within your department, your administration. And there are very concrete ways to do it. And if you apply these techniques, and then 3 weeks later, you see a big difference already. And I speak to you not in terms of theory, because I have been a Sangha building, a community building all my life. And many of my friends have acquired skills and experience on the field of community building. You can talk to monks, nuns, and other lay people who have practiced as a Sangha. You can learn many things from them. Every week, we have a session called Beginning Anew, where everyone in the community should be present. And the practice is to share, to create an atmosphere of brotherhood, sisterhood, to make communication possible, to give everyone a chance to speak out. And the techniques, you have to train yourself. Deep listening, compassionate listening, and gentle, loving speech. Everyone has the right to speak, but he or she should use gentle language, gentle speech. And everyone has a duty to listen with compassion and try not to be free, try to be free from preconceived ideas, prejudices, and so on. In Plum Village, where I live, there are many communities. There are 2 temples for monks and laymen and their friends. There are 2 temples for nuns and for lay women practitioners and their friends. And they always practice this every week, at least once a week, the practice of beginning anew. They sit into a circle, and inside there is a pot of flower. There is only one flower. And first of all, we sit silently to practice mindful breathing and to be aware that we have a chance to sit together as a family, as a community, and feel the presence of each other. This is very important. Silent sitting, breathing, to calm down and to recognize the people who are associated with us in our life, in our duty, in our work. We have to be a good team. We have to be a good community before we can serve the people outside. And then the one who wants to speak, join his palm or her palm. That is our tradition. You don't need to join your palm if you are not used to this. You can do like this. And then everyone else responded by a smile and doing like this. It means, go ahead. And then you mindfully and slowly stand up and do walk meditation to the center of the circle. Breathing in and out, mindfully, peacefully. Bow to the flower, remove it, and go back to your seat and sit down. You are holding the flower. It means that I am committed to express myself in a way that can communicate. I try to remain fresh. Of course, I will say everything that is in my heart, but my practice is a loving speech. I want to retain my calm, my freshness during the time of speaking. So please help me. So while you are holding the flower and speak, no one has the right to speak. No one has the right to cut. Of course, there is a code of behavior that you should not take all the time of the community. You should be considerate. You take a reasonable time for you to do your job, because there are other brothers or other sisters sitting there, and they need also to practice. And then the first thing the person will do is to practice expressing gratitude, flower watering. He look at his brothers, or she look at his sisters, and to identify the good things in them, and to express her gratitude that during the last week she was very happy to see such a sister doing that thing for the community, to show your appreciation, your happiness, and so on. You water the seed of happiness in everyone, because everyone has his or her own weakness, but everyone has his own quality. So the first thing is to express your happiness, your gratitude for the good things you have received, the positive things that have happened to the community during the last 7 days. If you are a beginner, it may be difficult to find out the good things to say. But if you are used to it, it's not so difficult. You can touch the best things out in other persons, and you can transform the atmosphere by your speech. And the second thing, after you finish the first part, you start the second part. You express regret that during the past 7 weeks you might have been unmindful. You may have spoken a harsh word. You might have been rude to a colleague. It's very good that you express your regrets, because that will encourage others to do the same. That is the escalation of anger. If you only accuse, and then the anger will come up. This is This is very important. As a human beings, we are not perfect. We have shortcomings. We have a time when we are not mindful. We have said things or done things that may cause painful feelings around. It's time to practice expressing regrets. And the sisters and brothers in Plum Village, they always find regrets in order to express. This is very important because it encourages everyone to do the same. That bring down the level of anger and hatred very quickly. And then you can begin to express hurt. You have been hurt by the behavior of a brother, of a sister, of a colleague during the past 7 days. You have tried to practice very hard in order to transform them. And if you have been able to transform it and to see that if you get hurt, there's more because of your the seed of anger and misunderstanding in you, rather than because what the other person said. But you express right away, I'm sorry. When you said that, I was very angry. I thought that my suffering has been caused only by you. But after a few days of practice, I realized that I was mainly responsible for my anger, my suffering, and you were only a minor cause. So I apologize that at that moment I blame everything on you, which is not correct. You can tell that. But if by the end of the week you have not been able to transform, and then you have to be honest. You say that I have tried my best, but I have not succeeded. So please explain to me, my colleague, my friend, my sister, why you have done such a thing to me, why you have said such a thing to me. It makes me suffer. And then the last part is to propose something that will be able, if applied, will bring more harmony and happiness to the community. And this is a very wonderful practice. It makes the atmosphere easy to breathe again. It brings the air into the community. It reestablishes communication. And if you can practice weekly the practice of beginning anew, the transformation, the healing will continue to happen. There are young people who get married in Plum Village, and we always tell them to practice beginning anew every week. Even the first week after wedding, when they are still very happy, when they still don't have any problem with each other. The happiness is so great that they can ignore the minor irritation. But if they ignore the minor irritation, and if these continue to accumulate, and then there will be one time they cannot deal with it anymore. And that is why right after wedding, they have to begin the practice of beginning anew every week. If there is no problem, and then they just practice flower watering in order to increase the awareness of happiness. Suppose the young husband, during a reception, had said something that is not entirely true. He was boasting a little bit, exaggerating the truth in order to impress people. The lady did not think that is correct. What he had said was true, but not completely true. He exaggerated in order to impress people. So during the time she listened to him, she lost some of her respect, because her husband was not telling the entire truth. Her husband had the intention to impress people. And when you lose some respect toward the person you love, that is a danger. Because true love can only maintain alive for a long time with respect. The moment you lose some respect vis-a-vis the person you love, your love is threatened. And that is why, even if the happiness is still big, Friday night, during the session of beginning anew, she has to tell him, "Dear one, honey, Sherry, during the party, you have said that. I don't think that's completely correct. Did you have impression to impress people?" I suffer a little bit. I want you to be completely honest and correct, because my love is based on my trust in you. She may be wrong in her perception, so husband can help her to say that, well, that's the truth, my honey. I told the truth. And so she can correct it. She can correct her perception. But her husband, if he recognizes that he has gone a little bit too far, and then he said, honey, I exaggerate a little bit. I promise that next time I will not do it again. And then the internal knot in the young wife will be untied. Every week you have to do that. Do not leave anything that jeopardizes your happiness and trust. And this can be done in a community of practice. You cannot say that you lose a lot of your time. No, this is a very important practice. Deep listening is a wonderful practice. Sometimes we call it compassionate listening. You listen with compassion. Even if what the other person says is full of wrong perceptions, discrimination, blaming, judging, you are still capable of sitting quietly and listen. Because you know that if you can listen like that for 1 hour, the other person will get a relief. If you remember that to listen like this has only one purpose, to give the other person a chance. Because so far no one has been able to listen to him or to her. Now you are a bodhisattva of listening. And that is why just remember, listening like this is to give him a chance. This is a practice of compassion. And if you can maintain compassion alive in you, well, you would not get irritated. Compassion protects you from getting irritated or anger when you hear the things that are unjust, full of blaming, bitterness, and so on. It's so wonderful. And you can keep compassion alive in you by that kind of awareness. Listening like this is to give him or her a chance. Just that, and you keep breathing in and out and maintain that awareness alive. And you can listen to him 1 hour, or maybe 1 hour and a half, without the seed of anger in you being touched. And then, if you feel that at some point anger begins to come up, irritation begins to come up, you know that your capacity of compassionate listening is not strong enough. You have to bow and say, darling, I think I'm not very in good form today, in good shape today. Would you allow me another chance, maybe after tomorrow? I will continue to listen to you. Don't make too much effort. If your quality of listening is not good, and then he or she will feel it. That is why don't try too hard. And there are those only after 4 days of practice are capable of doing compassionate listening and re-establish dialogue and communication with their husband, their wife. I have seen a multitude of cases like that in our retreats. And when you speak, you have the right to tell everything in your heart to him or to her, provided that you use loving speech. When you speak like that, the block of pain or anger in you may come up, and that may be translated in your voice. In that case, you know that your capacity of loving speech is not good enough to do. You say, darling, would you give me another chance? Today I'm not in my best. And you take a few more days to practice mindful breathing, mindful walking, so that you can arrive at a time when you can practice loving speech. And every one of us, whether we are psychotherapists, lawyers, teachers, parents, daughters, sons, we have to learn and train ourselves a little bit in order to apply these two techniques. Because these two techniques are the only instrument that can restore communication. And when communication is there, everything is possible. Communication helps remove wrong perceptions in us and in the other person. Wrong perceptions is the base of all hatred and fear and violence and terrorism. And we know that every one of us can be an inspiration for reconciliation and peace. Every one of us can be a Bodhisattva, a Buddha. Let us begin right at this moment and transform ourselves into an instrument for peace. Because the third kind of nutriment Buddha taught is about deep desire, mental volition. The Buddha said that we have to look into ourselves to identify the kind of deepest desire we have. That is food. If our deepest desire is to help people to suffer less, to transform, to bring peace into their life, and then that is a wholesome kind of food. If your deepest desire is to revenge, to kill, to destroy, that is the poisonous food. If your deepest desire is to run after fame, sex, power, and wealth, you will get into a lot of suffering. So please go home to us and examine and identify the deepest desire in us, because the deepest desire in us is the motivation, is the energy that keeps us alive. We need a desire in order to continue to live. The Buddha had a desire, the desire to transform, to heal, and to help. And his life was sustained by that strong desire. Those of us who get the same kind of desire will be happy people, because our desire is wholesome. We desire transformation and healing. We desire helping society to suffer less. And if our desire is just to punish, is just to run after fame and power, well, that deep desire is not the kind of good food. And the Buddha stressed very much on this third kind of nutriment called volition. Please, in your Dharma discussion, go deep in this and share about practice as how to bring the practice into our community. And our community will be the base for bringing the peace, the healing into the world. Đừng